Brad, it's great to have you here. You've been with us before, and I love what you guys do at Pacific Justice Institute. You're dealing with a lot of cases across the country. You've been doing it for 25 years. I just think people need to know there's some cases that will affect them, whether they're involved in the litigation or not. Give us an example.
Oh, there's so many cases we're involved in. I'll just give a few, but one is dealing with a Korean spa owned by Christians up in Washington State. It's just for women. However, one day a man comes in and he says, I feel like I'm a woman. I want to go in the locker room and join the women and their daughters. And they said, oh no, we won't allow that. They're Christians. They have, no, we're not going to be allowed. So he leaves. The Washington Human Rights Commission files a lawsuit against this Christian-owned business.
Yeah.
And we at Pacific Justice are in, and we're representing that business. No owner of a business should ever have to choose between putting bread and butter on the table and being true to their faith as a Christian or whatever their faith may be. So this is a very important case.
There's one New Harvest Christian Fellowship that might even go to the Supreme Court. Why is that case important? Why might it go all the way up the ladder?
Yeah, this is a big case. It involves a church that was in Salinas, downtown Salinas. They bought the building right across from where they were renting. It was perfect. But Salinas says, oh no, your church is not fun enough. That's the word they used. F-U-N, fun.
Fun.
Not fun enough. So we went and filed a lawsuit, and I thought we'd win this easily.
Yeah.
We didn't. The judge ruled in favor of the city, said, yeah, fun's a legitimate, compelling interest to keep out churches. So we then appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And the Ninth Circuit reversed and said, no, churches have a right to be able to be treated like everyone else. And we won, and I thought it was over. But then Salinas, the city of Salinas, they're appealing this. And I thought, this probably won't go up because we won. But the Supreme Court petitioned us to respond to their petition for cert, which means it's under serious review right now, and there's a good chance the Supreme Court will take it up. And if they do, I'm very optimistic that these judges, a number of which were appointed by the former administration, are probably the best judges, the best Supreme Court I've had in my lifetime, and I'd be very optimistic for a very powerful decision which would impact freedom and liberty for churches and synagogues across America.
This is incredible because basically somebody sued because they said the church wasn't enough fun.
Right.
So you can't have a boring church. Right. I guess that's what really...
I don't think they go to church, and so I don't...
Yeah, I doubt they do. But when is it the government's business to determine whether a church group is having fun or whether they're bored, and why is it any of their business? That's really the question, isn't it?
We've seen this growing hostility against people of faith, institutions of faith, and it's not just in California and New York. We're seeing these all over the country.
One of the reasons this becomes so important, Brad, is that we tend to think that elections are the most important moment that really kind of shape our future and the direction of our culture. But I would argue that elections, as important as they are, and they are, really pale in that most Christians' personal lifestyles are going to be affected by what happens in the courtroom more than they are in the election booth. Is that a fair assessment?
It's a very fair assessment. We still have three branches of government. One of them is judiciary, and it's a very powerful branch of government. So we at Pacific Justice, we see where we're at. We see there's, on one side, we have the greatest challenges to religious freedom and parental rights and the sanctity of life on a state level now than we've ever seen before. On the other side, we have judges that are more respectful to the Constitution on the Supreme Court than ever in my lifetime. So we've got great referees. That's one reason why we have this litigation in 20 states, 27 offices in 20 states, as you mentioned earlier. And we're also wanting to empower people. So on our website, when they sign up to get our Legal Insider, we have a valuable resource. It's a combination of all our resources to empower people to know what all their rights are when it comes to religious freedom, parents' rights, sanctity of life, et cetera. We want to empower people, and then when they know their rights are violated, they can call us and we can come in and represent them all the way to the Supreme Court without charge.
There is a case in San Diego County, and it's the Foothills Christian case. That one has to do with Christian preschools. That could affect every Christian school, Christian universities, preschools across the country. Tell us about why that case is urgent.
Oh, it's really important. The state of California passed a law just about 3 years ago saying that preschools, all preschools, they have to be licensed. And if they're licensed, they have to not ever require a child to be compelled to listen to Christian music or Christian stories from the Bible. This is a preschool we're representing, which is directed by a church. It's at a church.
And parents know what they're doing when they send their kids to a Christian preschool, right?
Exactly, exactly. So this is a major, major battle. If we win, it's going to send a loud message to California and the other states. Don't even think about muzzling the ministries of this country, including preschools, private schools, et cetera.
So, there are some Christians, they may say, yeah, but, the Bible says we're not supposed to take our brother to court. So how do you deal with that criticism? Because, look, you don't have to convince me, but there are people who just say, well, we should never go to court if we're Christian.
I do a lot of guest preaching at churches, which is sort of funny for an attorney to say that.
Yeah, it is. We're not sure attorneys go to heaven, so the fact that you go to church, it's great.
I know, it is.
It's good.
But it's interesting. One of the sermons I love to give is expository out of Acts chapter 22. And in there, Paul gives a great example of how he's about to be scourged. And instead of saying, okay, go and scourge me, he says, is it lawful for you to scourge a man who is a Roman and uncondemned? He lays claim to his rights of due process under the law, and he does it in the most winsome manner possible in the form of a question. Even later in chapter 25, appeals to the highest court in the land, the Caesar. So I think that we need to know our rights are a gift from God. We need to use those in a way that glorifies God. And if we don't, we're really slapping the Lord and really not being faithful stewards with what he's given us for his glory and for his kingdom here on earth.
I think it's important for people to realize the work you're doing at Pacific Justice Institute, it affects every Christian believer in America. You guys do this for free because a lot of the people you're dealing with, they could never afford to go out and hire constitutional attorneys who could take their case to the Supreme Court. It would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if people say, I'm not sure how to help maybe my culture, contributions to organizations like PJI, I personally believe one of the most important things people can do right now. Thank God you're doing what you're doing. And for our audience, I hope you want to learn more about Pacific Justice Institute and keep up with some of the cases that could affect you. If you want to do that, of course you do. Head over to Huckabee.tv. We have links to PJI and how to follow Brad Dacus on social media.